The 326th Glider Infantry Regiment occupies a distinctive place in U.S. Army history. Unlike parachute units that descended abruptly from the sky, the men of the 326th arrived in combat aboard unpowered gliders, landing directly amid enemy defenses. Quiet, vulnerable, and heavily laden with troops and equipment, glider infantry endured some of the most dangerous insertions of World War II. The regiment's lineage stretches back to World War I, but it is best remembered for its service with the 101st Airborne Division, the legendary Screaming Eagles. World War I. Origins of the regiment formation and training. The 326th Infantry Regiment was constituted in 1917 during the massive expansion of the U.S. Army for World War I. It was assigned to the 82nd Infantry Division, a National Army division composed of draftees from across the United States. The regiment trained at Camp Gordon, Georgia, where soldiers were prepared for trench warfare, bayonet combat, and the realities of industrialized war. Training emphasized discipline and mass infantry tactics typical of the First World War. Service in France. The 326th Infantry Regiment deployed to France in 1918 as part of the American Expeditionary Forces. Though it arrived late in the war, the regiment participated in final operations during the Meuse-Argonne campaign, supporting the Allied push that ultimately broke German resistance. Following the armistice of 11 November 1918, the regiment served briefly in occupation duties before returning to the United States. It was demobilized in 1919, like most National Army units. Interwar years and transformation. Between the wars, the regiment existed primarily on paper as part of the Army's organized reserve, preserving its lineage. As global tensions rose in the late 1930s, the U.S. Army began experimenting with airborne warfare, including the use of gliders to deliver infantry, artillery, and vehicles directly onto the battlefield. This innovation would redefine the regiment's role. World War II, rebirth as glider infantry, reactivation, and conversion. The regiment was reactivated in 1942 and converted into the 326th Glider Infantry Regiment, assigned to the newly formed 101st Airborne Division. Training took place at Camp Toccoa, Georgia, and later at specialized airborne training facilities. Though glider infantrymen did not attend parachute school, their training was no less demanding. Emphasis was placed on infantry tactics and marksmanship, air landing assaults, rapid assembly after landing fighting, while isolated behind enemy lines. Glider troops understood that their landings would be violent and often inaccurate. A glider landing was effectively a controlled crash, often under fire. Deployment to England. In September 1943, the regiment deployed to England, where it trained intensively for airborne invasion operations. Here, the men prepared for the largest airborne assault in history, the invasion of Nazi-occupied Europe. Normandy, baptism of fire. D-Day and aftermath. On June 6, 1944, elements of the 326th Glider Infantry Regiment landed in Normandy in support of the airborne assault preceding the amphibious landings. While many gliders missed their intended landing zones or were destroyed on impact, survivors rallied and joined the fight. The regiment fought in the hedgerows of Normandy, reinforcing scattered airborne units and helping to secure key terrain behind the beaches. Combat was close, confusing, and relentless. Despite heavy losses from crash landings and enemy fire, the 326th fulfilled its mission, helping ensure that German forces could not counterattack the invasion beaches effectively. Operation Market Garden. In September 1944, the regiment participated in Operation Market Garden, the ambitious Allied attempt to seize a series of bridges in the Netherlands and open a rapid route into Germany. The 326th Glider Infantry Regiment landed near Eindhoven, reinforcing airborne forces tasked with holding corridors against German counterattacks. Fighting was intense as German forces reacted quickly to contain the airborne landings. Though Market Garden ultimately failed to achieve its strategic goal, the regiment's defensive fighting helped prevent a larger disaster. The Battle of the Bulge, holding the line at Bastogne. In December 1944, German forces launched their last major offensive in the West, the Battle of the Bulge. The 101st Airborne Division was rushed to the Belgian town of Bastogne, where it was soon surrounded. The 326th Glider Infantry Regiment played a crucial role in the defense of Bastogne, holding key sectors under relentless artillery bombardment and repeated infantry attacks. Winter conditions were brutal. Freezing temperatures, limited supplies and ammunition, constant shelling. Despite these hardships, the regiment held firm until Allied relief forces broke through. Final operations and victory following Bastogne, the regiment participated in the Allied advance into Germany during early 1945. Glider operations became less frequent as Allied forces gained air superiority, and the war transitioned into rapid ground advances. The 326th continued to fight as conventional infantry, clearing towns, securing supply routes, and accepting German surrenders as resistance collapsed. On May 8, 1945, Victory in Europe Day, the regiment stood deep inside Germany as part of the victorious Allied forces. Following its service during World War II, the regiment returned to the United States and was inactivated in 1945 as the Army rapidly downsized. With the decline of large-scale glider operations, the glider infantry concept itself faded from Army doctrine. However, the regiment's lineage and honors were preserved, and elements of its history were later consolidated within airborne and infantry formations of the post-war Army. The legacy of the 326th Glider Infantry Regiment is one of quiet courage and extraordinary risk. Glider infantrymen went into battle without engines, without second chances, and often without knowing where they would land. From World War I trenches to Normandy fields, from Dutch drop zones to the frozen foxholes of Bastogne, the regiment exemplified adaptability and resilience. Though often overshadowed by parachute units, the men of the 326th were indispensable to airborne success. Their service stands as a testament to those who rode silent wings into war and held their ground once they arrived.